Hi, today we're going to be going over the scavenger hunt assignment that I mentioned the first week of school. This is basically trash is our treasures. We are going to do several art projects that include collage, which means we can be doing layering, cutting, drawing, painting, doodling, and assemblage. And so here is an example of scraps from magazines, and somebody had created a coyote silhouette using the different colors from the different types of paper that they saved instead of throwing into the trash. So this is called the Junk Mail Collage Recycled Material Art Project. So I want to introduce these ideas to you now because it'll get you more excited about sharing tomorrow the materials that you're going to bring to share with the classroom, which is due tomorrow, Friday. I have a video here. Let's see if we can get it to play.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Art at Home with Mrs. Young. I come to you today from my recycle bin. Do you all recycle at home? Do you have a recycling bin? Did you know that there is a whole group of artists who make art just using recyclable materials and found objects? Let's learn a little bit more about this type of art. Assemblage is a form of sculpture made from found objects arranged to create a piece of art. Found objects are things someone finds in nature or that are man-made. Found objects can be everyday items that are typically not used as art-making tools, like forks or chairs. Pretty much anything you can look around and find, even recycled items and trash, can be used to make assemblage art. Did you know that Pablo Picasso, one of the greatest artists ever to live, had a passion for creating art with trash? That's right, with trash. Picasso was the first to stick pages of discarded newspapers, broken chair seats, and bits of cloth to his paintings to invent the art of collage. Picasso pioneered the artistic use of the second hand, the old, the broken. His sculpture of a bull's head made from bits of an old bike finds a new use and meaning for junk. In the original assemblage from which this bronze baboon was cast, her face was formed from two toy cars, one upright, the other turned upside down, that Picasso borrowed from his son. Her tail was an automotive spring, the baboon's ears were made from cup handles, and her round belly was a large jug whose handles formed the shape of her shoulders. Louise Nevelson was another important assemblage artist inspired by Picasso. She was from Russia and immigrated to the United States in 1902. She called herself the original recycler because her work was inspired by found objects. Her work is made of wood and painted in a solid monochromatic black or white. Nevelson gathered these materials for her sculptures on the streets of New York City, a process that began in her starving artist days when she and her young son would go out looking for wood to burn in their fireplace to stay warm. Other famous artists, such as Alexander Calder, have created assemblages as well. Calder was one of the first artists to create moving sculptures known as mobiles. Many of these were created using found objects. Jane Perkins is a contemporary artist that feels recycled art is a fun challenge. She recreates celebrity portraits and masterpieces using found objects. Ptolemy Ellerington is an artist that uses old car parts he finds along the roadside to create assemblages. Where most of us see garbage, Ellerington sees beauty and value. Our final contemporary artist is Michelle Reeder. Her most famous work of art is this family portrait made from 1 month of household waste from her family. The materials not only show the amount of waste each person produced, but also tells the story of each individual through the things they threw away. Now learned a little bit about assemblage art and those who create it. It's your turn. My challenge to you today is to create a sculpture using only recycled materials.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it right there. This is only for Say Bin. Are you here with us? Because you're the only one taking 3D, correct?
Yes.
You're going to watch the rest of that video. But for the rest of us, we're going to go ahead and move on with the rest of the presentation. So Sabin, later on, I will have this available, the slideshow, and you can watch the rest of that video, okay?
Okay.
But not right now with everybody else. So I'm going to minimize that, and we're going to go back to the presentation. So that gives you a little idea more of what recycling and repurposing things that usually we throw away. It's really sad how many materials we throw away every single day. And so I asked you guys to collect things. I continued to collect things. This is from my dog food. And this is that thin cardboard that I love so much that I showed you guys the other day that I cut and I filleted open. And this could be a canvas. So here we have that filleted. And I'm going to show you more ways we can use these wonderful materials. What did you guys think of the video that I just played? Anybody have any quick input? No? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on. So here we have your canvas, any surface usually, but not limited to 2 inches. Over 3 inches can be 3D design, and that's where it goes more into Sabin's world because she's taking the AP 3D exam. So here we have a piece of cardboard, and the cardboard is used instead of paper. And they went ahead and used, I believe this is Prismacolor or white charcoal, and Prismacolor or perhaps the oil pastels. I'm not really sure, but I just found this example and I just thought it was really interesting. It doesn't have to be a huge piece of cardboard for it to be your canvas. This here is a can and it's been smashed down and somebody chose to do a painting onto the can. Sophia, since you came in late, you're going to have to watch the video on your own time. I already played a video about the recycling and assemblage. So
Okay.
here we have more pieces of cardboard. Now, maybe you get a box or you find a box outside and you can cut off parts of it and you can either collage them together or have something small and handheld. I wanted you guys to see how small this piece of art is. It doesn't have to be huge. And this is perfectly fine as one of the pieces for your portfolio. We're supposed to turn in 15 slots for the portfolio, and I will go over that another day. But today I just wanted you guys to really get an understanding of the scavenger hunt and what it means to collect and be prepared to share tomorrow what you have. I have one student that asked if she could use old skateboards as her canvas, and I'm like, that is amazing. I cannot wait for you to share that tomorrow. So you have homework today. You need to go and start scavenging canvases for your art pieces. And yes, we can use regular paper, but I think it's interesting to show variety. And since we're in this really unique situation, this is perfect for recycled materials. So as you can see, all these pieces have rough edges. There's an interesting texture to the canvas. This one right here, it has all kinds of lines and whatnot, but I feel like it adds a special element. You could use pen on it. You can use pencil. You can use practically any medium. You can see in here, this is watercolor onto this to splash around some background and pen work. And then this, I believe, is either white gel pen or white charcoal or Prismacolor. I'm not really sure. And so you can refer back to this to just kind of get a few ideas. So this cardboard canvas, basically everything I already explained, you can practically use anything on it. So that's really exciting. Now here is cardboard on the right. and it's been cut up with X-Acto knives. If you cut really thin, you can engrave into the cardboard paper and just lift off the top layer. And that's how you get these really interesting corrugated lines in between. Now, you have to have an X-Acto knife, which I don't have to supply everyone. This is something you'd have to have. And you would carve into the cardboard and experiment and play with it. It's really neat because when you do this, you can also paint them and use them as a print with another piece of paper. So there's all kinds of experimental things you can explore for your portfolio. And so I'll give you opportunities for that. But right now, I'm just trying to get you excited and invigorated to collect materials. Here, these are thinner boxes like the cereal boxes I just showed you in the dog container box, and it's collaged together for a larger piece. And I really enjoy seeing those different textures behind it instead of boring old paper. It makes me feel like um, somebody that cares deeper meaning beyond just the art piece. It's about the environment. So cardboard cereal boxes are much easier to store and they're very easy to cut versus the cardboard. It is heavier and it thicker. So that's something for you to think about. It's harder to cut. Now, here we have on the right paintbrushes, old paintbrushes that have been repurposed into canvases. So this is for my uh, people that happen to have acrylic paint. I wouldn't use oil paint on this. And that's more my AP art students. You can use acrylic paint to do all kinds of things. You're expected to do strictly drawings and paintings. 2D design students, you could do drawings, paintings, digital, collage, all kinds of things. You have way more options available to you, unlike the drawing and painting AP art students. This is paper. I think these are old paper bags. And what they did is they cut them into circles, burnt the edges on some of them, and rustied it up. And they used like old threads. These look like a brown, I don't remember what twine, and they glued it and collaged it together to make this interesting eye collage here. This can count for your AP exam. So it doesn't have to be ordinary and flat and boring. I just really want to get your mind outside of what you think this exam is all about and get you to a broader meaning and a more interesting visual for the judges to view. Pay attention to how they photograph these pieces. You don't see cast shadows from the person taking the picture. It's really important to avoid shadows of you onto your artwork. It's really important to have good, strong lighting, and you don't want a lot of distractions in the background. So all they did is a blank wall and some wood on the bottom for this paintbrush. And that's really interesting, but it's not taking away from the art piece. And this one is just a white background. So you really want the focus to be on the artwork and no distractions. You want it to be very clean. You want it to be in focus. Now, here we have interesting paper to draw on, and it adds interest, drama, and impact. So perhaps, you talked to your family. Do you have any old maps that you don't use anymore? Nowadays, a lot of people use their cell phone apps to drive around, and they don't use old maps. And they probably have some old ones in their glove box in their car or, around. It doesn't have to be white, boring paper. Brown paper bags, scrapbook paper, roughening up and making it more interesting and have that being a part of your background. A lot of books, old books have these really interesting brownish yellow tinge to the paper, which really comes in interesting. For example, on this one, and they collaged on top some eyes from a photograph or a magazine along with their drawing. So it's not 100% drawn. And I thought that was really interesting to let you kind of get your mind wrapped around the possibilities. It doesn't have to all be from you, but aspects of it, 80% of it should be from you. So this is like 20%, the eyes here that are collaged from a magazine, and then the rest of it was drawn by the artist. So I want you to really get excited and think about that. This is can be drawn, pen, you could do pencil, you can do all sorts of things, charcoal on top of it. The map was perfectly fine. We just want to get, your art to be out of the boring zone. You will be taking a lot of photographs this year that will help you do your drawings, and I'll guide you through that later. But right now, I'm just trying to get you excited about collecting interesting canvases to do your art on. Here's a book page for the ballet, and the person did, it looks like Prismacolor, watercolor, and possibly ink to do these shoes here. And then this one is looks like they use scrapbook paper, cardboard painted on it, book pages, all sorts of mishmash. And this could be an excellent canvas to work on top of to make something look edgy. Here we have font backgrounds can create an interest and use a variety of backgrounds. We don't want each and every art piece of yours to have the same boring background. So I'm trying to teach you early on, variety is the spice of life. We want to show the judges a variety of things that shows you're exploring an idea and you're evolving and you are changing along, the process. They don't want you to be cookie cutter fitting in a box, very boring. You want to keep them invigorated and engaged with the artwork that you are doing. These look like they are Prismacolor on top of book pages. And this is, I believe, watercolor with pen, black pen, and white gel pen. This here looks like this is book pages and the person had cut the edges and perhaps lightly burned the edges or painted brown to make it look like a burn. Here, Prismacolor again. This looks like graphite and Prismacolor. This one here looks like Prismacolor, watercolor, and possibly a little bit of pen. This is all watercolor. And I think that's just beautiful. And I would love for you guys to explore and play with these types of materials. If you want to do book pages and you don't have any at home, I have plenty. I just need to be aware that this is something that you would like, and I'll have it available for you when we have the day that you guys come and pick up. I'll just bring a bunch of book pages and you can grab what you'd like. I'll have a day where you come to the classroom and I will have this stuff spread out maybe like on a table out front or inside, but they already fixed the air conditioning units so that the ventilation will grab the air and not recycle it. It'll take it out, but you must wear a mask. You must be 6 feet apart. And so there's a lot of rules about it when you come to the classroom, and I'm not quite there yet, but I'm hoping next week we can get together at your school and you can come and pick up your supplies that you needed, that you filled out on that one form that we discussed earlier, yesterday and the day before. That form is due tomorrow, by the way. So here we have layering cut paper can push you out of your comfort zone and show variety. So this is not drawn at all. This would not count for the AP art exam. This would count for the AP 2D exam. Actually, I'm not sure. It might count for AP art. Don't quote me on that. But what this is different kinds of colors of paper cut in different ways and layered and glued together. Absolutely breathtaking. I don't want to rush. I want you to really see this before I change slides. So I'm going to go ahead and change slides now. Here we have more layering. I love this one on the left. It shows different emotions and it's just simple silhouettes, cut out pieces of paper and it's a very strong piece of art. Think about your message, color theory, elements of art, principles of design. The one on the right, you can see they used paper that they drew on, or maybe this is scrapbook paper. This looks like watercolor and drawing though. And then they used interesting little cutouts. Some parts are hand drawn, simple pencil and watercolor. Art can be an escape into fantasy, dare to dream. So these are paper cut pieces as well. They really grab your imagination. I believe on the left, this is thread that's wrapped around the paper to kind of give a connection vibe to the two that are looking like they're puckering up and absorbing each other's energy. I found that really powerful. And then this is strings with little pieces of paper dangled down. I'm not sure if this is flat or what. It's hard to tell. I can only see the cast shadow here from the bird. But you have to be very careful about shadows. The last thing we would want when we're looking at this art piece, if you photographed it, is your cast shadow on top of it. So I always recommend getting blue tape and taping it to a wall. And the best lighting is usually outside. That way you get less shadows in your way. And then this one here, they illuminated it from the back of the paper. So they had a light bulb behind the paper and it's glowing forward. Elijah and I played around and did a few pieces with lighting from the back. I would love for you guys to experiment and use interesting lighting. So this is a 2D example, and this is cut paper that has been folded to give it a little bit of dimension. This is still considered somewhat 2D design. It could be borderline 3D design, say, Ben. So this is something that you might want to think about. And you're curling and shaping the paper to give it dimension and shadows. Usually we draw dimension and shadows, but it doesn't always have to be. So that's something to think about. And then I have these little videos that you can click on. I hope this is working in my video. And it shows you a little tutorial on different ways to cut paper and create interest. This person is coloring the paper they have already pre-cut out. And then they get like a plastic spoon or knife, whatever you need to give you a nice shape, and they're curling the paper. And then they start to roll the paper around like a toothpick or a, what's it called? The word's escaping me. It's a long toothpick. They use it for barbecuing. You do shish kebab sticks. That's what it's called. And then she's just using Elmer's glue or hot glue. And then she's curling it back the opposite direction. So this is more the 3D route. And since it was a fast video, I went ahead and played it. Over here, this is three-dimensional. This is also for Say Bin, but it can get you guys excited for like a following year. And there's aspects of this that is 2D. And so they're just layering paper. You'd have to have a very sharp X-Acto knife and X-Acto blades to use something to do something like this. And then they illuminated it from the back. Isn't that interesting? Okay. So those are some fast examples. And I have an example. You need to have like a board and an X-Acto knife. Every time I move my mouse, that thing pops up in order to cut those little bits out and have it really be precise. So you have to have very sharp blades and an X-Acto knife to do that. Here we have paper cutting. Now, this is definitely the 2D realm, and you can do collage to show shapes and your appreciation of shapes. So the bunny has drawing on it, and everything else may have a little bit of drawing, like some of these leaves, and it's just layering all these different shapes with different color paper. You can do this with all recycled materials instead of regular boring old paper too, and the judges would really appreciate that. On the left, we have this is like a drawing made out of thread. And so this the string art and wire, it shows line appreciation. So that's the difference between line and shape. These are more bulky things, and this is more interesting, thin, thick lines. Here we have assemblage. There's a video about assemblage. It's a longer video. I will have this presentation posted so that you can go through this and take your time and really look at this stuff and get you excited about whatever art you want to make and collect if you want to do an assemblage. And then here is the, oops, I hate that pop-up. I have a hyperlink to the author and artist of these assemblages. She is in Curiosities magazine, Assemblage Techniques and Projects. And so you can take a look at her altered curiosities that she has created. Assemblage art above 3 inches is 3D design, below 2 inches is 2D art. So here we have a book, and then they used book pages with probably wires and other things inside, and it's wrapped with the book pages to make it look like trees and that it's a sculpture. So that's the 3D realm for people like, say, Ben. That's a student that I've had for 3, 4 years. I usually don't teach 3D design. Miss Archunde does. But if I've had you for many years, I will gladly allow you to do the AP 3D design exam with me. Miss Archunde doesn't really care for AP 3D, and she likes to teach the beginners. So if I make exceptions for students that I've had. I love teaching AP 3D art. It's got to be a challenge online, but we'll do the best we can. But if it's under 2 inches, like I'd have to measure this piece. I'm not sure if this is 2D or 3D. It's borderline. I think if you're an AP 2D, you could get away with turning in something like this. Now this one, it's definitely over 3 inches. That's a pot. I know that's big and that's bulky. So that's definitely not 2D. This is 3D. This looks 2D. This is 3D. Your canvas can be all sorts of things. You can do artwork and paintings on fabric, wearable art. Don't be afraid. It's okay to be bold. Great for AP art because this is painting, all right? Acrylic paint on fabric. I generally allow students that are in AP art to use acrylic paints. I don't usually let AP 2D do acrylic paints unless you have your own already. Acrylic paint is like liquid plastic, and it dries on the brush if you're not careful, and it will destroy your brushes. Brushes are very expensive. So if you want to do this and you happen to have this stuff, or if you want to talk to me and make an exception, we can talk and negotiate about this. But yes, you can definitely paint on backpacks. You could do it on all sorts of things like the skateboards that a few people were talking to me about. I'm open to you doing all sorts of variety of canvas, and I'm trying to get you excited to do weird things like this. And that's the end of my presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video.